know your rights. It's time now for Legal Point. Now your host, Carrie Kasem.
It's Legal Point. I'm Carrie Kasem. And I'm back with one of my most favorite guests today. But before I announce who's on with me this weekend, I'd just like to talk a little bit about why this show is so important to me and personal to me. It's a show that I, so far, have only interviewed elder law attorneys, people dealing with senior issues, elder issues. Why? Because the attorneys that helped me out when I was struggling so hard to see my father, when I was blocked and he was isolated and I had no legal recourse. I had no help. I didn't know what to do. It was the two elder law attorneys that helped me so very much and won conservatorship / guardianship over my father. And I feel indebted. So today, one of my favorite guests who's been on a few times, Julie Steinbacher, Julianne Steinbacher. Julie's the founding shareholder of Steinbacher, Goodall Yurchak, an elder care and special needs law firm established in 2002. Julie is a certified elder law attorney through the National Elder Law Foundation. She has a superb AVO rating, or AVO rating, I've heard it both, and that's for attorneys, and was a Super Lawyers Rising Star in 2013. She's also a recipient of the 2015 Pennsylvania Bar Association Special Achievement Award, which was given to her for her dedication and commitment to the Pennsylvania Bar Association's Quality of Life and Balance Committee. A significant portion of her elder law practice specializes on estate and long-term care planning, and as an attorney, her goal is to provide a bridge between legal services and the Aging Network. She's also an author. Julie has written many books, 5 books, including Pennsylvania Trust Guide and Planning for the Second Half of Life, Protect Your Family. It's a big resume, Julie, and I'm so glad to have you back on the show. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Carrie. It's great to be here. I appreciate everything that you do to help all elder law attorneys get the message out of how we can help families.
And you were just at my conference, the Kasem Cares Conference on Aging 2016, and you were a speaker.
Yeah, it was just blew me away. The information that I was able to hear there, as an attorney that's done this for a long time, you start to think, well, you kind of know what this is all about. But I had just some great takeaways and just a renewed energy to go out there and really help everybody plan ahead so that the end of life is better, but also so that people don't become victim to elder abuse.
Right. Absolutely. And you spoke so well on that and so much good feedback. So I was very happy to have you there. I was really pleased with how everything went. And I think doing conferences like this really gets the word out and raises awareness.
Yeah, and raising awareness is so important in this situation because, people often, families are trying to help. They think maybe something's wrong, but they're not sure, and they're trying to help. And sometimes the places that they go first, the places, maybe they call the police or they call protective services, the places that they're led to first often aren't really set up to help them. And that might be right, it might be wrong, but the reality of it is that it's frustrating because they don't really know where to get help or answers. There's no one place you can just pick up and call. Maybe the Kasem Cares Foundation.
I hope, and we do help so many people that call, and we give them guidance, something I didn't have when I was going through this. I thought, really, I was the only person experiencing this. There's no way that people can be this cruel. There's no way that people separate families knowing how much my dad loved me and my sister and brother and his brother, knowing how much he loved his family and friends, to make that decision to separate somebody at the end of life when they especially need people around them that love them. To actually do that is such a cruel act that you don't think there's no way other people have done this. There's no way.
Yeah, and you're just blown away hearing some of the other speakers, the one attorney from Nashville who talked about 3,000 calls coming into his office.
Yes, David Callahan.
So you think, I think some people look at this and look at your family and say, oh, it's just a celebrity thing. Or they look at it and say, it can't be that much. I instantly kind of bonded with your message because I know, because calls come into my office.
Sure.
And it's really hard as the attorney. I have a case right now that I'm doing that I took on pro bono. You know, the family, it's a brother. He's worried about a sister. He doesn't have any money to help pay. But you can't always do that. You can't. And, you know, in that situation. But so for me, it's just like, I was just blown away sitting there and just listening to all the other presenters, really realizing that this really is just so prevalent. And what I know, there was 2 other attorneys with me that we went out to dinner afterwards, and we thought, what can we do as elder law attorneys to do even better? To, you know, not just, it's so hard sometimes just to get people to come to our office, but how forceful can we be that, hey, this could happen. Mm-hmm. You could be isolated too. And that's just maybe the start of the abuse itself. But what can we do as elder law attorneys to really make sure that doesn't happen?
And prevention is key. Prevention and planning is key. It really is. And I know that people don't want to talk about it, or they think, oh, well, you're scaring me. That's a scare tactic. It's not. And it may not be your family. Oh, my family wouldn't do that. My kids get along. There's not going to be any fighting. It doesn't have to be your kids that do this to you. It could be any caretaker, anyone.
Yeah, a professional, a caretaker. You know, one of the things, Carrie, that I just thought was really interesting in the survivors panel is that all the people that were taken advantage of were men.
Yes.
And certainly abuse isn't all about men.
No, I want to say about 85% seem to be men. There was a case in Texas where it was Dinah, a wonderful woman. She really did lobby the bill. She just said, she found our foundation and said, I want to help you with this bill in Texas. I know. I used to work at the state capitol. I can help you. My dad has blocked my mom from us kids. It was the father. It wasn't even a stepfather. Yeah. It was her own father blocking her mom who had dementia. And so, no, it really runs the gamut socioeconomically, and, you know, whether you're it's a step parent, whether it's your mom or dad doing it to each other, a sibling. It could be a housekeeper. It could be a professional guardian, a state-appointed guardian. It can be anybody, and they don't realize what a national epidemic this is. The isolation. Paul Greenwood, DA Paul Greenwood from San Diego was talking. And were you there for that?
I was. He was just amazing.
Fantastic, right? I want him to speak for 2 hours next year. He's so good. He talks about the first signs of any kind of abuse. The first step is isolation. It's easier to hide the bruises. It's easier to hide all the financial abuse. It's easier to hide any kind of abuse when they're isolated and, you know, there's no phone calls, there's no visitors. You can pretty much do anything you want with that person. It's very scary.
Well, and it's so easy to isolate an older adult because they don't go to school. You know, so many times people say, oh, you know, elder abuse, child abuse. They're so different because that elder isn't going to school. That elder's not going to grow up and be able to fight back. They're just going to get more and more fragile and frail and be more able to be easily abused once they're isolated. And there's no real way out of that unless a family member pushes and advocates, or a friend, somebody really pushes through that abuser who has caused the isolation.
But in that case, if you don't have the visitation law there, the Kasem Cares visitation law, you have to go to court and now battle out durable powers of attorney. You have to battle out conservatorships or guardianships. You're looking at quite a lot of money. Most people don't have money for a retainer. Yes. So if you have this in writing, even if you have all this in writing, which is kind of scary, I'm going to say something kind of scary. Even if you have all your will and estate plans written out, they can be changed like that. So I say, put yourself on tape with your family members there. You know, if you can. And if you can't, name the family members that if a caretaker is taking care of me and I have dementia, I am sick, I cannot fend for myself, and somebody keeps me away from my family and friends, and you name everyone that you want to see, they are criminal and they should be removed from my care. You know, and that was something I usually always say in all of my talks. I was going to say that in the survivors panel, but we ran so far over. There were so many people that wanted to share their story that I didn't get to that. But I do say that all the time. It's so important.
You know, the thing is that some people could be listening out there and thinking, you know, this isn't going to happen to me. I'm not going to have that abuse. But, getting your ducks in a row, planning ahead, having that videotape, we sometimes at my office, we even take it to another level. We call it the priceless conversation. So not only who do we want to see, but, what was it about us? We did that for my father-in-law. He has dementia. And before he was pretty bad with dementia, we videotaped him. And we weren't concerned about abuse. But boy, if my mother-in-law passed away and he got remarried or he had to be with caregivers, I'd be so happy to have that. But here's the thing. Even if it doesn't rise to that level, having that tape, it's so important. I think some people say, oh, well, I'm not going to end up in abuse. Well, getting your ducks in a row, getting that power of attorney, doing all of those things, that's helpful because it makes it easier for your family. It also is a little bit of insurance in case, something happens. I just think the other statistic that just blew me over. First of all, when Paul Greenwood talked, I thought to myself afterwards, that is one county in one state.
Right,
and
right.
But one of the things that was said during the meeting was that 50% of people with dementia will suffer from some form of abuse.
Yes.
50%.
50% is a huge number. And I may say something, I think it's more. Because when you have dementia, sometimes you have caretakers that don't know anything about how to take care of you. And sometimes you get upset or you can get a bit violent. I've heard that, and it's a scary thing when you're taking care of. So how do you handle that? What do you do? And then you grab somebody too hard and there's bruises, or you don't realize this. You don't know how to take care of somebody like that. Then you say, okay, well, Dad's too far gone. We put him in a nursing home and they're abused there. I mean, and I'm not saying kids abuse. I'm just saying it's a very difficult situation to take care of somebody, especially if you don't know how.
Well, and we have to remember, too, there's also an element out there of, if somebody's trying to take care of them and they don't know how, it's frustrating.
Yes.
And who are they going to ask? How are they going to learn? And so if I have a person who's maybe a little bit more prone to anger or violence and we put them in a really frustrating situation, that's just going to bring out the worst in people.
It's going to make it worse. Yes, absolutely. I agree. We have just a few seconds left before we take a break, but I want to talk a little bit more about planning. What to do when people come to you, what do you tell them, and how they get started. My guest today, Julie Steinbacher. I'm Carrie Kasem. This is Legal Point. We'll be right back.